Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about app services and how you can get started with those and what you can do with app services. And in order to create an app service, well, again, there's three different ways, but we're gonna search for app service up here, app service, and there we go, app services. You're gonna press that, then you will press create new. And then we need to add some settings, and I'm going to go in depth in those that we need to know. I'm gonna skip the rest. So first and foremost, you need a subscription, right? Like I've said before, everything you do in Azure, you need a subscription for. Then we need to create a resource group, and I don't have one, so I'll create one. I'm gonna call this RG demo app, like that, and then we need to give it a name. So now we go to the instance details. So the name here needs to be unique. So it needs to be a unique name because this is going to be the name of our website. So something.azurewebsites.com, .net, right? So let's say, for example, if I put test here, this won't work, right? We'll get an error. The app name test is not available because most likely somebody already has this name. So it's important that it's unique, and I'm just gonna put a name for here, shades for you. Let's imagine we're making a shades shades store, right? So we have shades for you dot azurewebsites.net. Um, After we choose the name, we'll choose a code, our publish method. Then we need to choose the runtime stack, and I won't deploy anything to this machine or this app service, but basically the runtime stack should be whatever runtime you're using on your computer, right? So if you're using .NET, you should use .NET. If you're using Java, you should choose Java, right? Uh, so you have some different ones. You have Python, you have PHP, Node, Java, ASP. I'm going to take .NET for this demo. Then you get opportunity to choose an operating system, Windows or Linux. There are pros and cons with both of them. I'm going to choose Windows for this demo. Then you need to choose a region. I'm going to go with West Europe. There we go. And then for the pricing plan, we're going to create a new one. I already have a new one, but so I don't need to create one. You see it says new here. That means it will create a new one for me. And then for the pricing plan, I'm going to choose, let's see. So we need a production environment. So when it comes to app services, they come in two different categories or different categories. You have the dev test. So these app services are good for development, right? So when you're developing or you're testing, right? But as soon as you have something that's going to go live for customers, then you might want to use the production tier app services, and they vary in price, right? Some of them are very expensive, and some of them are a bit cheaper, right? Like you can see here. So we're going to start with the dev test because I'm going to show you guys how easy it is to scale up, right? So we're going to start with the free one. So we're going to start with the free F1. Now, basically, Azure gives you the ability to use a free app service, but this free app service has its limitations, right? You don't have, for example, you cannot enable backups, you cannot do automatic scaling, you cannot do deployment slots. It's freemium, right? It's free, but it's limited. But I want to take this opportunity to show you guys how easy it is to actually scale up an app service once you created it, right? So I'm going to choose the free F1. I'm going to press select. You can also press the feature view up here to see what's included with different tiers, right? So you see here, auto scale, it doesn't have it. Daily backups, it doesn't have it. Staging slots, no staging slot. It's not zone redundant. Like there's nothing to it, right? But as soon as you go to the more production tiers, well, then you get staging slots, you get daily backups, etc. Right? Anyways, we're gonna go with the free F1 for this tutorial. Uh, Then we're not gonna connect our database. We're not gonna do anything else from here. We're gonna press review and create. Now I've navigated to my resource group and I have to wait for it to finish. Uh, so an app service is one of Azure's most popular services. It's really it's used by many people, many companies, many different projects within IT use app services. So it's a really good service to learn, right? And in this video, I'm going to go, we're gonna, kinda gonna go in depth with this video, but there will be more videos about app services because it is an important and popular topic, right? Let's see if it's finished. There we go. So now it's finished. So when you create an app service in or a web app in Azure, it actually creates three resources, sometimes two. But here you can see I have three resources, and that's because it created this one because I've enabled it for previous projects, and now it thinks I want it for every project, right? It doesn't matter. Anyways, when you create an app service, it doesn't just create one resource, it creates two or three resources. The same with a virtual machine. If you create a virtual machine, it won't create just one resource, it will create a couple of resources that's needed in order to manage a virtual machine. When we create an app service, we get three different things. We get something called application insights, and it's this lamp icon, right? Basically, application insight gives us information about our website, how our website is doing, and other things. Analytics, monitoring capabilities, right? Then we have the app service, which is the actual website or the actual web application. Here we can find our code, our files, our backups, etc., etc. So this is the actual web application. And then we have something that's called the app service plan. And the app service plan, you can kind of think of it like the computer, the virtual machine or the web server behind everything, the hardware that's used to run this application. Now, we're gonna go and look at the app service to start off with. So I want you guys to go to the app service. Now, this is the app service blade, and there's a lot of interesting things to note here, right? The first thing is kind of all resource blades or resource pages kind of have this view, right? On the left side, you have a navigation bar. On the top, you have a tab with some shortcuts or some actions you can do. And then the or the shortcuts will differ depending on what kind of in what kind of resource you are. But basically, you have the overview. So the overview, it gives you an overview of your website, the IP address, the capability to actually browse your website. So if you press browse, you will go to the website. Here you can stop it, restart it, you can delete it, do other stuff, right? You'll see the domain, etc. If you want to add a custom domain, you can do it. This is basically an overview of your website. And here is the website. So the website made Azure made has a like a kind of a custom template that you get when you create a web app. And this is it, right? Now I have to upload my code to it. So that's the overview tab. Under activity log, you see basically who has done what and when they did it, right? So this is a way to keep track of different types of activities. Then you have this thing called access control. In access control, again, you will probably see this in all resources. This is where we give permissions to other users or other devices to interact with our resource. Then we have tags to tag different things to make searching easier. We have this diagnose and solve problems. What this blade does is it's kind of a health check, right? So basically this tool here will run some tests on your website and tell you if your website is or your infrastructure is good or not. You see, I have three critical errors here, and auto heal is not enabled, currently not using the health check features, and distributing a web app across multiple instances. That's fine because this is a development application, right? Then you kind of have a defender, but for your web app, right? Then you have events. Events is kind of, well, you can trigger code or functions if this app service, let's say somebody restarts this app service or somebody creates a new deployment to this app service, then that can trigger an event. And when that event triggers, you can do some other things with, for example, a logic app or an Azure function, right? Next, you have the deployment. And here in deployment, you make deployment slots. And what a deployment slot is basically your website can have multiple versions, right? But I'm going to get back to this deployment slots in a bit because I cannot use this feature because I'm on the free tier right now. Same with the deployment, well, not same with the deployment center. Basically, the deployment center is, so you have code somewhere. Yes, I do. Okay, so where's the code? Well, it's on GitHub, for example, right? And then you can, okay, where? So I go to my organization and then I can select the repository where my code actually is. And then I can, uh, uh, deploy that code. So basically, you can deploy through GitHub, right? So if you have your code on GitHub or any of these, you can use this deployment center to deploy it. Then you have this configuration tab. And this is basically your app settings. So if you need to add a connection string or something like that, you can do it. You can do it here. And also in this under general settings, there's something called always on, right? I recommend this to be off, but sometimes you do want it to be on. Always on means that it's always on, right? If you have it off, then if you don't have customers or visitors on your website, well, then it's not going to cost you as much, right? Then you have authentication. So basically, an identity provider. So if you want somebody, if you want your website to have an identity provider, for example, sign in with GitHub or sign in with Microsoft, you can do that. You can add it by in this page. Then you have the application insight. That's basically a shortcut to the resource called application insight. Uh, Identity, we can skip that for now. Then we have backups. Basically, a backup is you take a snapshot of your website or your infrastructure as it was, and in case of a disaster, you can go back to that point in time. Making sure that you don't lose valuable data. Or, for example, on a new developer rolls out a version that's not supposed to be there, well, then you can just go back to a previous backup, for example. Anyways, then you have custom domains. So if you don't want this name to be, for example, what was it? It's shadesforyou.azurewebsites.net. You just want it to be shadesforyou.net. Well, then you need to buy that domain, and then you can set it up here. Then you have certificates if you want to manage SSL. Networking, you don't have to do a lot with, but if you need to do anything with the networking, open up ports or set up private endpoints, you can do it in the networking tab. Then we have scale up and then we have scale out. And both of these are very interesting tabs, right? So that's also one of the reasons one chooses the cloud is its ability to scale on demand. And what is scale on demand? Well, scale on demand refers to basically when you don't have a lot of traffic on your website, basically you don't have a lot of customers, right? Then your website or your infrastructure shouldn't consume that much, right? It should only consume what it needs. So if you have 100 visitors, then you should only have the hardware for 100 visitors. And then if at some point you go from 100 visitors to 1,000 visitors, then your infrastructure should be able to scale up, become stronger to handle that. Well, scale out. So basically, there's scale out and scale up. There are two different things. Scale up means you take your previous version or your previous computer and you make it stronger, right? So right now I have a free F1, right? If I would to scale up, I would choose something that's stronger than this free F1. For example, if I now press standard S1, this is me scaling up, right? And if I go down from this to this, then this is me scaling down. So basically, scale up means you take your current hardware and you make it stronger, right? You go from F1 to S1, or you go from S1 to V3, right? So you scale from S1, you scale up from S1 to V3, right? Uh, and what is then scaling out? So if scaling up is you go from weak to strong, then what is scaling out? Well, scaling out means that you scale not up, but you scale on the side. So basically, if I have a free F1, you cannot do this with free, but just an example, right? So let's just do this. So let's say we have a standard S1. Now, we don't want to scale up, we want to scale out. So if scale up was me going from this to stronger, then scale out is I will take this and I will make a copy of this. And then this and the copy of this, they will work together to handle the traffic and the workload and the compute, etc. So basically, you're creating a copy of what you currently have, and then these two will work together, and then you can also scale out more, right? You can scale out to more than two, and then they will work together. Now the benefit of that is that you could easily scale down. So as soon as you don't need two anymore, you can just remove one node. Now so what do you choose? Do you scale up or do you scale down? Scale up or do you scale out? Well, I like to think of it like this. You scale up when you know that your daily needs requires more, right? So if the daily usage of your website is more than your computer or your hardware can handle, then you should consider scaling up, right? Because of if scaling up should be it's like it's kind of a it's not a temporary fix, right? It's a permanent fix, right? So when your infrastructure cannot handle the daily workload, then you should consider scaling up, right? So when should you scale up? Well, let's say you're a company like Ticketmaster, right? Sometimes you want to buy, I can give you guys an example. So a couple of years ago, I wanted to go to Tomorrowland. And in order to go, so what is Tomorrowland? Tomorrowland is a festival in Belgium or something like that. And the tickets are very popular and they are really hard to get. And the problem that occurred at that time was that when the ticket was released, the website crashed. And the website crashed because there were so many users or customers that tried to get a hold of the tickets that they actually overworked the web service. Like the web service crashed because they didn't have the capacity to handle the traffic. Uh, and that's a perfect scenario for when you would scale out, right? So it's not every day this website will have 1 million visitors. It's only a short time during a day or a short period during a year or during a month. So basically, you want to scale out when it's a short-term fix, right? So maybe when you have the peak customers, or maybe when you have a marketing campaign going on, you know that you will get more visitors than usual, then you would scale out. So basically, scale up is you go from one hardware to another hardware, permanent. Scale out is you take the hardware you have, make a copy of it during the peaks, they work together, and then you scale down. And this scale in, my bad. And then this scale out. So when you scale out, you make a copy, and when you scale in, you remove this copy. So scale up, you go from here to here. So this is scaling up. And then scale down is when you go from here to here. And then you have the word scale out. Scale out is when you make a copy, and then scale in is when you go and remove that copy. Okay, so two different methods. Scale up when you need to permanently increase your capacity, and scale out when you want to do it as a short-term fix, or during certain times of the year or day or the month or something like that. Whatever. And also one of the benefits of this is when you scale up, you start paying the price for the strong machine, right? So
Hello.
it's expensive. So it can be kind of expensive. And when you scale out, well, then you take the same machine, and well, you won't have it for as long, right? So you'll just pay for that the time you're using it. So that's scale out and scale out and scale up. Uh, I recommend scale out. I like scaling out because you can also put up auto scaling. So basically, your app service or your infrastructure will handle the scale out and scale in by itself. And how would that look? Well, in order for me to demonstrate this, I need to actually scale up because so I wanted to show you guys the deployment slots and I want you guys to show you guys the scale out. And in order for me to do that, well, I cannot do it with this free F1. So let me demonstrate how to scale up. So if I want to scale up, I just go here and press this one, and then I press select, and then I press upgrade, and there we go. We successfully scaled up. Now, um, let's say I want to scale out. So if I now go to deployment slots, you can see that, well, now this is enabled. Right now I have deployment slots. So I did actually scale up. So now I have a better computer. But now I want to demonstrate for you this auto scaling. So how you can scale out automatically, right? So if you scroll down here, you have something called scaling. So app service provide multiple features, blah, blah, blah. So this is how you can scale. So you can either scale out manually. So I can take this lever and then I'll press this. If I put this at 5 and press save, what will happen is that Azure will create 5 copies of my machine, and they will work together to serve my website, right? This is called manual scaling. But then I also have to remember to come back and, take it down, right? Manual scaling, I don't recommend because you will most likely spend more money than you need to spend. What I prefer is this called rules based, right? And this is you implementing auto scaling. And with the auto scaling, well, you also enforce a kind of DevOps principles because you want to automate as much as possible, if not everything. And scaling is one of those things. So you need to add some rules, and I will press Manage Rules-Based Scaling. Here we go, and then I will press Custom Auto Scale, and then you see it already chose so you need to give it you can give it a name here, and I can just call this auto scale, and then it chooses the correct resource group and instance count 1, right? So now I have to put some rules here. So what are the rules? Well, first I want to do you want to scale based on a specific count or based on a metric? Based on a metric is what we want. Based on a metric, basically what it does, it will listen to the website, right? And I will explain to you more. So here you can see scale is based on metric trigger rules, but not rules is defined. But no rules is defined. Click add rule to create a rule. For example, add a rule that increases instance count by 1 when CPU percentage is above 70. So let's do that. We can press this add rule, and then this will open, right? So it's a lot of things, and you don't have to worry about all of them, right? The only thing you need to worry about kind of is this metric name. So which metric do you want to listen to? So what we want to do is we want to create this auto scale. So we want our infrastructure to scale up when our CPU is being overworked, right? So when the CPU percentage is over 70%, then we know we're close to a crash. Because if you reach 100%, crash, right? So we'll do this. We'll choose the metric names, and there are different kinds of metrics. We will use this CPU percentage, right? And then we will scroll down. Then you have this called operator. So what do you want? Well, we want the CPU percentage when the CPU percentage is greater than 70%. So again, when the CPU percentage is greater than 70, what do we want to happen? Well, we want to increase the count by 1, and I want it to check every 5 minutes. Okay? So what does increase count mean? Increase count means basically create another machine, create another app service, create another computer, a copy, and this copy will work together. So now you have two app services working together, or app service plans. So again, the rule here says when the CPU percentage of the app service is greater than 70%, then increase the count by 1 and do this every 5 minutes. We'll press add, right? So again, scale out when blah 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 average CPU percentage is over 70%. Increase count by 1. How many counts? Well, maximum 10, right? So we don't want to go over 10, and we always want to have minimum 1. If you don't have 1, well, you don't have a website running, right? But this is scaling out. So let's imagine this scenario. So this website is called Shades for You, right? So we're selling shades online. And let's say we're selling shades to 1,000 users. So we have 1,000 users every hour. That's our count, right? And then we do a marketing campaign, and this marketing campaign makes like buy one pair of shades, get another pair of shades for free, right? Very popular. Everybody wants this premium offer, right? So let's say a lot of people visit my website. A lot. We have 10,000 visitors, right? Immediately, my CPU percentage will go over 70%, and then this alert will happen. And it will scale out. So it will add one core or add one more instance, right? So now I have two instances working together. So now we have two instances working together to handle this 10,000 users, right? Let's say two is not enough. So then if the percentage goes over 70% again, well, then this rule will add another one, and then another one, and then add another one. It will add another one until this is no longer over 70%. But let's say now, so let's say we come up to a total of 5 instances. So now we have 5 instances, and then our the day is kind of over, or we're sold out. So we have no more shades, right? So we have no more visitors. So the visitors go back to 1,000 where it usually is, right? But we still have 5 instances running. So what we want to do is we have a rule to scale out, but we also want to have a rule to scale in. So basically, we want to scale back, we want to scale in when our CPU percentage is no longer at risk of crashing. So we'll add another rule, add rule. We'll use the same metric, CPU percentage. Then we'll, instead of having greater than, we'll choose less than, and let's say 50%, right? So less than 50%. So when the CPU percentage is less than 50%, then we don't want to increase count by 1. We want to decrease count by 1. Boom. So now we have a rule that says scale out when the app service CPU percentage is over 70, increase count by 1, and then scale in when same is under 50, decrease count by 1. Minimum 1, maximum 5. Now we've created an auto scale rule. So basically, now we don't have to worry about how many visitors our website will have because this rule will make sure that our website scales based on the CPU, right? So when we have a lot of customers, uh, we use more instances, and when those customers leave, we scale back in to our original count. And I will press save. And that's auto scaling, kind of in a nutshell. Now, what we can do is we're gonna go back to deployment slots. So I wanted to speak a bit about deployment slot. So what is deployment slot? Well, deployment slot is basically a way for you to create multiple versions of your website, right? So in a real project, in a real company, most companies have more than just one website up and running, because some websites or some products they need to do testing on. They need to make sure the URL is working. They need to make sure the buttons are working. They need to make sure the website is actually working 100% before they show it to the outside world, right? To the public. So right now we only have one deployment slot. This is the main one. It's called production, or it has the label production, and it it takes 100% of the traffic. So basically every time anybody visits our website, this website over here, well then they will go to this deployment slot called Shades for You, which is production, right? What I can do is I can create a new slot. Let's call this development, right? So let's say I have a group of developers working on this website, and they're currently working on a new feature, right? Or a new button they need to test. They need to test it live, right? Then I can give them a their own version of the website, which the customer don't have, right? So the customers don't go to this website, so the developers can test in peace without having to worry about ruining the customer experience, right? So let's clone the settings from Shades for You. So now we'll have two identical copies, one that's called Shades for You and one that's called Shades for You Development, or just Development. So there we go. So now we have our two websites, right? So right now I'm in the main production. So this is, by the way, a new resource, right? If I go back to my resource group, press refresh, well, I can see a couple of things have created there, but you can see that a new thing that's called app service slot has been created. So basically, it's kind of a copy of the app service, but not really. So let's go inside there. So let's go to this development slot, and from here we'll go to browse. You see, so this is app service, but now it says slot here. We'll go browse. So it should be a copy. It will be a copy. There will only be one difference, right? The only difference is this URL is shadesforyou.azurewebsites.net. This is shadesforyou-development.azurewebsites.net. I can do anything I want to this website, and it won't change this one. Now, let's say I'm a developer, I'm working on this website, right? So let's go to the development. So this is the development, and this is a good time for me to show you guys another thing, right? So if I want to edit the files in this website, I can scroll down here, and here you have something called development tools. Here you can press advanced tools, and then you press go here. From here, we can actually go get a CMD of our computer, the computer behind. So these files over here, they're actually the files that's in the app service that we're currently using. So this app service, the files in here are actually located here. So we get the file explorer. So I can actually go see the site, which should be under the site. So I can write cd site here, or I can actually just press here. It's the same thing, right? Enter, and then I get here. And if I press www root, here's the website currently hosting this, right? And I can show it to you by pressing edit here. And well, this is pretty stupid. We get everything in one row, but let's just do this, right? Let's go to ChatGPT and create a website real fast. So in here, I'll just write create me a simple HTML website template to showcase an random image or something. I don't know. Regenerate. I don't know. Why doesn't it want to work? Let's see. Well, it seems that ChatGPT is kind of bugging today, so I have to manually do this, it seems. Okay, that's fine. So we'll just go back here. Here. Well, let's remove this code over here, right? Yeah, let's do that, and then just go HTML. Okay, so we get some help here, right? We'll do title. Let's call this Shades for You, right? And then that's fine. And then we'll just do the body first. And then in this body, we'll do one h1 and we'll say, welcome to this awesome Shades website. And then we'll just press save. And this, remember, so I'm in the development slot right now. So this is the development slot, and I made a change in this code. I'll press refresh, and you can see, welcome to this awesome Shades website. So shades.for you.development, we now changed this part, right? But this did not affect what the customer sees. The customers will still see this Shades for you see? So we can have different versions of our website where we can do different tests, implement different things. What we could also do is, let's go back to the main app slot. So we'll just go back here, we'll go deployment slots, and then we'll go back to, we have to go back actually. So go back to your resource group, go back to your app service, and then go deployment slot. So there we go. Now, we can also, if we want, change the traffic. So we could do 50-50. Let's say we want 50% of our customers to go to the demo development website, and we want 50% to go to the main website. Maybe these will be our beta testers, right? Or something like that. We can if we want, right? Anyways. Now let's say we're happy with this website. Now we want this website to be the main website. We don't want this anymore, right? Well, then we could very easily just do a swap. So when we do the swap, we change which one is production, basically. And this will be quite seamless, and there will be no customer experience or miss experiences, right? So what do we want to swap? We want to swap development with for you, yes. And then we'll just press swap. So now basically after this swap is done, this website will have the new content. And there you go. Now it has this new content. Pretty nice, right? And the development now has the old content. So now the developers can keep on coding on this development, and every time they fix something new, we can just swap, 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 swap. And the customers will never have any downtime or complain that our website is unreachable during updates or whatever, right? And that's deployment slots. That's a cool thing you can do with deployment slots, right? Now, I wanted to go to talk about backups as well, but I think this video has become long enough, so we're gonna stop right there. Anyways, I hope this video gave you guys a bit more knowledge about app services and how you can use them to make solid web applications. Thank you guys, and